against social mobility. Well, now there's a title.
Oh, yeah.
You don't see every day.
Really makes you
It
think.
kind of goes against everything we're told about,
Getting ahead.
you're getting ahead. Right. So today we're going deep into this,
Provocative.
thought-provoking document
Yeah.
against social mobility.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to unpack the arguments, not to agree with them necessarily, but just to understand.
Yeah, where's this guy?
Where's this author coming from?
What's the logic?
Exactly. So,
It is a really interesting piece, though. It really does challenge, I think, some assumptions we have about
progress.
progress and how society is structured. I mean, it's interesting how they put it in this historical context.
Yeah, they point out that like a lot of traditional societies, they had
Or pretty strict social hierarchies.
pretty strict hierarchies. But instead of seeing that as like a bad thing,
You see it as
they see it as necessary.
order.
Yeah, like a necessary order.
Yeah.
So what's the logic there?
Well, they seem to think that, these established structures, with their clearly defined roles and responsibilities, they actually fostered a sense of stability.
Stability and purpose.
Communal stability and purpose. It's
Yeah.
like they're suggesting that social mobility is actually the thing
That's
that
not ups at all.
disrupts this balance. Yeah.
Wow. That's a pretty bold claim.
It is.
So how do they actually support that idea? The idea that moving up in the world could be bad.
Well, they actually question the very foundation of
Merit.
what we even consider merit.
Right.
Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And they use this example of a skilled carpenter
Okay.
who's amazing at his craft. But in this scenario, the carpenter's role, his inherited role
Yeah.
in society, is that of a millwright.
Okay, so they're suggesting that true merit isn't just about being good at something,
It's about
but it's about,
fulfilling the role you're born into.
yeah,
Yeah.
which seems to like totally contradict.
Yeah, our modern ideas.
The idea that anyone can achieve anything.
Totally.
Yeah. If they work hard enough.
Yeah, it does. And they're saying that, putting your individual talents
Above the needs.
above the needs of everybody else
The needs of the community?
can actually lead to instability.
Uh-huh.
They're saying that a well-functioning society needs people to kind of reliably fulfill their roles,
Stay in their lane.
even if that means that some people don't get to, explore all their passions.
Right. It's kind of like, I'm thinking of like
A machine
machine.
where every cog.
Yeah. And one cog decides to be a gear and it messes up the whole thing.
Exactly. And they're saying that social mobility can cause that disruption.
If everyone's trying to move up,
Yeah, all the time.
it just,
Undermines the stability, the continuity
Right.
that comes from people staying in their lane.
okay, so this leads us to their,
Farmer-blacksmith dilemma.
the farmer-blacksmith dilemma.
Yeah.
So they ask us to imagine this peasant farmer,
Who's secretly
amazing blacksmith.
an amazing blacksmith.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah.
But it's not his.
Inherited profession.
Yeah, so
What's the dilemma?
what's the dilemma here?
Well, the dilemma is in the potential consequences of him actually pursuing
Blacksmithing.
blacksmithing.
Right.
The author is saying that if he abandons his farm,
It could have a ripple effect.
ripple effect throughout the entire community.
But hold on. Couldn't he become a blacksmith without, like, hurting anybody?
Well,
Maybe he could even, like, teach people
maybe.
and enrich the community?
It's possible.
Yeah.
But the author is really concerned with preserving the existing structure.
Okay.
They're worried that the farmer's social mobility would actually harm the established blacksmith.
Oh, so it's not just about the individual.
It's about the impact on everyone else,
Yeah.
especially on those whose livelihoods depend on the existing structure.
Yeah. So it's like his right to do what he wants, but it's also like,
Got to think about everybody else.
got to think about everybody else.
And about the blacksmith's family,
Oh, wow.
his lineage. Remember, they're big on this whole,
Passing down the...
continuity
Yeah.
of traditions.
Makes me think about apprenticeships.
Yeah.
You know how that used to be the way to pass down knowledge?
Yeah,
Is the author saying that there's like value in that we've lost
I think so.
in our modern world?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not that he can't blacksmith,
Right?
but it's
It
that.
needs to be carefully considered.
Yeah.
You know what's best for everybody.
And this kind of leads into,
Not their point about
That-
class contentment and cultural stewardship.
yeah, they say that happiness and stability aren't just in the higher classes,
That's right.
which is kind of interesting considering like historical class systems,
Not really known for their equality.
Yeah, not really known for their equality.
So how do they square that?
Yeah, how do they square that circle?
I think they believe that a clearly defined class system, even a rigid one,
Doesn't have to mean.
Doesn't have to equal oppression or unhappiness.
Right.
They're saying that knowing your place can actually give you
Belonging.
a sense of belonging and purpose.
Yeah, it's not about feeling trapped.
Yeah.
It's about feeling
Connected.
Yeah, connected to something bigger than yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they go further. They say that each class has its own unique role
In keeping things stable.
in maintaining the stability of the whole thing.
Interesting. So they even go so far as to like distinguish between
Wealth and class.
yeah.
They say that true class isn't just about money or social standing.
Yeah. It's like they're saying it's more about
Character values.
responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like how they contrast.
Debauched millionaires.
Yeah.
With happy working class men.
Yeah. It's about more than just
Money.
yeah. Okay.
And then they tie this into their idea of the higher classes.
being responsible for
Cultivate.
Sure.
Yeah, transmitting this high culture.
Now that's a term.
Oh, yeah.
That could spark some debate.
A lot of baggage.
What do they even mean by that?
It does sound elitist.
Elitist.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You have to understand it in the context of their whole argument.
Okay.
They seem to be talking about a set of values and traditions and artistic expressions
Okay.
that they think are essential for society to develop.
So it's not necessarily about being rich or having a certain social status,
No.
but it's about upholding those ideals.
Yeah, and contributing to them.
Okay.
And they contrast this with the desires of, like, they say the average factory worker.
So like consumerism
Yeah.
versus
creating.
Yeah. It's a complex idea.
It is
Yeah. And it's here that things take a bit of a turn.
a turn.
They say that social mobility can actually lead to cultural decline.
Uh-oh. Yeah, they're saying that when people rise up from what they consider lower classes, they might not.
They might not be ready
Yeah, they might not have what it takes to
guide the culture.
guide the culture.
Yeah. That's a pretty bold claim.
It is.
I mean, it almost sounds like they're saying that only certain people are
Yes.
allowed to be the leaders of culture.
Yeah, it does kind of come across that way.
How do they justify that?
Well, they believe that true cultural stewardship, a
Requires.
really deep understanding of tradition and history,
Yeah.
and those values that they associate with high culture.
So it's not that people from lower classes can't appreciate culture.
Right.
It's that,
They're just not born into it. They don't have that kind of ingrained understanding.
okay, I see what they're saying.
They use this analogy.
Okay.
Imagine promoting somebody from the engine room of a ship to be the captain.
Okay.
They might be a great engineer.
But they don't know how to steer the ship.
Exactly. They lack the experience and knowledge.
Right. So they're saying that someone who moves up too quickly
Might not have what it takes
to really lead.
to lead effectively.
Okay.
And they argue that modern society, with its emphasis on social mobility, has actually elevated people who maybe shouldn't be there.
Huh.
They might be technically good, but
They lack that cultural depth.
the understand.
It's kind of a disturbing thought,
It is.
but I see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Do they offer any, like, solutions?
Not really a blueprint,
Okay.
but their argument seems to point toward a system,
That values.
continuity mentorship.
Slower ascension.
Yeah, a more gradual way of moving up.
So people can learn along the way.
Exactly.
So it's like a combination of meritocracy, but also like cultural education.
Right.
You can rise to the top, but you have to understand the culture.
the culture.
Now, this is where things get a little,
Dicey.
yeah. They talk about class as,
Genetic related.
and we got to be careful here.
Oh, yeah.
We're just exploring these ideas,
We're not endorsing them.
not endorsing them at all.
Mhm.
So they're basically saying that class is,
In your blood.
yeah.
It's inherited.
And marrying outside of your class
Can
can,
mess that up.
yeah.
Lead to people who don't know where they belong.
This is pretty controversial.
It is.
I mean, our understanding of genetics
Has come a long way.
has come a long way since these ideas were popular.
Right.
It's much more complicated than that.
Exactly.
But it's important to see where they're coming from.
Right.
Historically.
Historically,
Right.
we can't just ignore these arguments.
Right. But we also have to challenge them
Yeah,
with our modern understanding of equality and individual potential.
absolutely.
So if we step back from the controversial stuff,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways here?
Well, they're raising some questions about social mobility.
Yeah.
They're saying that maybe it's not always a good thing. It
Ah.
can disrupt things.
Lead to instability?
Yeah. And maybe even a decline in those cultural values they care about.
And they also talk about
The impact of our choices
Yeah.
on everyone else.
a sense of responsibility to
yeah,
the community.
exactly.
They make us think beyond just ourselves.
Right.
It's not just about me. It's about
everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that progress
Isn't always a straight line. Sometimes a little bit of friction
is a good thing
would be a good thing.
to maintain stability.
Exactly.
And it makes us think about what qualities we want in our leaders
Yeah.
and how we develop those qualities.
In a changing world,
Yeah,
it's tough.
it's tough.
So as we wrap up this look at against social mobility,
Yeah.
it's important to remember
We're not saying he's right.
we're just trying to understand
Understand his arguments.
even the ones we don't like.
Yeah.
Our goal here is to
Give you the tools.
think for yourselves
Yeah, to think critically.
about these ideas.
And come to your own conclusion.
Exactly. We've covered a lot,
We have.
and this author has given us a lot to think about.
He really has.
So as we move forward,
Yeah.
how do we balance individual ambition,
With the need
this
for
ability,
and cultural continuity.
in a world that's constantly changing?
That's a tough one.
It is. It is. It really is.
As we wrap up our look at against social mobility, I keep coming back to that question,
That big question.
Yeah, that big question.
Mm-hmm.
How do we balance, the individual?
Is society.
Yeah, the wants and needs of the individual
Right.
versus like the needs of the whole community.
And keeping things stable.
Yeah, keeping things stable.
Yeah.
Especially in a world that's like,
Go, go, go.
yeah, it's all about the individual.
Mimi.
Yeah.
It's a question that's been around forever.
Yeah. Philosophers have been debating this for,
Centuries.
yeah,
And I think this author, even though they're a little
out there.
out there.
Yeah. They make us think
Yeah, they do.
about these.
They make us think differently.
So what are those insights? What are they making us think about? Because it sounds like at first they're saying
And we need to go back.
we need to go back
To the old ways.
to the old ways.
Yeah.
And limit freedom,
Yeah.
enforce these rigid structures.
I don't think it's that simple.
Okay.
I think it's more about recognizing,
That our choices matter.
that our choices have consequences for everybody else.
Yeah. It's not just about climbing the ladder,
Right. It's about how your climbing affects the ladder,
the ladder itself.
the other people on the ladder.
Yeah.
It's about thinking about everybody.
We're all connected.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
Exactly.
And I keep thinking about their idea of high culture
Yeah.
and the higher classes being the caretakers.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little bit more?
Sure. It's a tricky term.
It is.
Yeah, high culture.
Sounds elitist.
It does sound elitist.
Yeah.
But I think what they're trying to say,
Is that somebody's got to...
take care of the culture.
Yeah.
It's like a garden.
Okay.
You need to tend to it.
Cultivate it.
Yeah.
Make sure it flourishes.
So it's not about social hierarchy,
I don't think so.
but it's about
Passing down
passing down the
knowledge.
values, the traditions.
Right. From one generation to the next.
Yeah, like an apprenticeship.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that culture isn't static.
Right.
It changes. It grows.
And it needs to, but it needs that foundation.
A foundation.
To build upon.
Right. It's like building a house.
Exactly. You can't keep changing the foundation.
Or it all falls apart.
Yeah, the whole thing collapses.
That's what they're worried about.
with all this social mobility.
Yeah,
that we're losing that foundation.
Who's in the roots?
Yeah. So the big question is, how do we balance all of this?
Yeah. How do we balance individual ambition with the need for a stable society?
No easy answer.
No easy answers.
But we got to keep talking about it.
Yeah. We got to keep having these conversations.
Experiment.
Yeah. Try different things.
See what works.
Maybe we need to rethink the whole idea of a ladder.
Oh, yeah.
What if it's more like a
web.
A web, yeah.
Where you can move in all directions.
You can go sideways, you can go up, you can go...
You can go down.
Yeah.
You can find your own path.
Yeah.
And still contribute.
Yeah, and still contribute
the whole...
to the whole.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about mentorship. Imagine if we had a system where people were encouraged to share their knowledge.
Across all levels.
Yeah, not just with their little group.
Everybody helping everybody.
Everybody helping everybody.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thought.
It is.
And maybe that's how we create a society that's both,
That dynamic.
and sustainable.
Yeah, where everyone feels like they belong.
And everyone's contributing.
Yeah,
It's a nice vision.
it is.
Yeah.
And I think this author,
Even though he's a bit much sometimes,
Yeah.
he makes us think about
how to get there.
how to get there.
Yeah.
He's pushing us in the right direction.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into against social mobility,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
If social mobility has both good and bad sides,
Right.
like the author says,
Which it does.
what kind of system
can we create?
can we create that encourages people to be their best,
Yeah.
but also recognizes that
We're all in this together.
We're all connected.
We're all connected.
Yeah, it's a question worth thinking about,
Worth talking about.
arguing about,
Yeah.
and maybe even trying out different solutions.
Experimenting.
Yeah, exactly. As we move into this, crazy new world.
21st century.
Yeah, the 21st century.
It's not getting any easier.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive
It's been fun.
into Against Social Mobility.
Yeah.
We hope you learned something.
And that you'll keep thinking about these things.
Keep those conversations going.
Exactly.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.